Happy Tuesday evening. Happy Tuesday evening. I hope y'all make sure the volume's up so I can hear you. All right. I'm sitting in my little showroom. 6 o'clock. Hey guys. Hey Ron. I just wanted to say hi. I'm very thankful for you guys watching. Hey Matt. I got some cool stuff to talk about today. Back in the day versus today. And I do have good service. I do have a good new modem and a new deal where I can get good service here. So let's see if we can stay connected here. Hey Ralph. Hey Wes. Good to see you guys, man. David, long time. I see some good old friends on here. Claire, how are y'all? Thank y'all for watching, man. I got some stuff to tell you about. I got some interesting ideas. I want to tell you a little bit about valve springs. Hey Scott and y'all. I want to tell you about the, I guess that's Bronco's mom and dad. This looks like it's skipping a little bit, but that's okay. Adelin's Chris. Good job, Chris. Everybody clap for Chris. Chris made it to the finals ending. His first final, man. Really good. Been trying for a long time. Hey, Charlie. James. Gary. Hey, man. Great. Thank y'all for coming. Number 54. Number 54, Tech Talk Tuesday. Been doing it over a year. Yep, that's great. Hey, Ray, I'm glad y'all are looking. This, you gearheads, motorheads, Harley fans, engine fans, Milwaukee 8, Twin Cam, Chevrolet, Chrysler, Ford, Pinto, Vega, Briggs and Stratton. Hey, Paul, Charlie, any engine guys, man, I got some stuff to talk to you about. Paul, thank y'all for coming in, man. Thank y'all. Valve springs, keepers, retainers, and valves, and the history and how we kind of got where we are. And I have some good parts to show you. I want to share some of these things. One thing I want to do a disclaimer right away. I want to tell you guys, look, I saved this. I saved this live show on my phone. I email it to Monica, who runs the office here at Star Racing. She downloads it to our YouTube channel, and they're there, all of them for you to see. I think there's 50 something episodes. I try my best to keep them under 30 minutes. Hey Bruce, Tom, thank y'all for tuning in. The other part I want to tell you is I've been doing this engine building stuff for 40 or 50 years, so I've learned a lot of stuff. I was telling somebody on the phone today, these trophies back here, as you see, these trophies look like all success. But I want to tell you that came from some success and tons of failure. And you guys that are watching that race and race for a living and have raced professionally, even as a sportsman or as a hobby, you know that winning is very small and competing is like going fishing, man. I did not know that some people go fishing because they think they thought fishing was catching fish. But it's not. It's just fishing. Catching fish is a different thing than fishing. Racing is racing. It's not winning. They don't call it winning. This is results of some losses. This is results of some winning. And we lost way more races than we won. Did it a long time. Learned a lot. But let me tell you about the destruction trail, you guys. This line of trophies on both sides of this room and some places in here that we look at, and guys come in here and they go, wow, look at all the trophies. Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, it is. And if I didn't ever see them before, I would think it was really cool too. But here's how it works. The vapor trail of aluminum alloy behind me in the distance, in the wake of these trophies and these wins. Think about it, man. Thousands of races lost to get a few wins. So, hey Brandon, happy birthday, man. That's one of my old homeboys from way back. Charlie, Hollis, Richard, Daniel. I see some names popping up. It's really cool to see you guys. Thank you, Joseph, for clicking in. But anyway, get back on track. I'm going to try and stay on track. But I just want you to know that when you see me or see my trophies or see our success, please bear in mind that the trail of destruction behind us is way bigger than any of this, okay? And to me, it legitimizes some wins because of how many losses we had. How much, hey, Ronnie, yes, what's up, my man? That's the fastest guy watching right here. Thankful to see these names pop up. Some of them make me smile. Yeah, some good history. Been around the world, man. Been around the world. Hey, Steve. I wanted to tell you, though, that blowing up stuff is from trying really hard to win. You know, we blow it up, blow it up, blow it up. But the racing, this racing, and the results of this racing has taught us a lot here that we can share with you. So I have this Tech Talk Tuesday deal where I can share some of the things we've learned. I can share some of the things we've done wrong. And I can share you a little bit of what I think is going in the future. Now, when I said disclaimer, these are my opinions based on what I think I know, and I want you to understand me. If you do not agree with what I'm using, and you do not agree with what I'm showing you, and you don't agree with what I'm telling you, I love you anyway, because you have your right to think you know what you know, and I think I know what I know. And I'm not going to argue with you about what I think is right or not. Hey, Cameron. Hey, Tom. I just want to Ken, I want to tell you guys that this is some stuff that I think has some value, especially if you're a gearhead or you just want to learn stuff. Hey, Billy. Thank you, guys. Flacco, man, I'm glad to see y'all's names. So I'm going to switch this around. I'm going to try and do it, and I'm going to switch to my board, and I'm going to draw a little bit here. All right. All right, what I have here is the old square groove. I drew a square groove valve. Timeless. Timeless. This is how we do it. This is how we've done it. All the old Chevrolets and Fords and Chryslers all came with a square groove. The top groove here is kind of a 90, and the bottom groove's kind of got a little 30-degree angle to it. So I tried to represent that in my drawing. The drawing made it big enough where you can see it. Okay, here's a real keeper. This is made out of steel. It's just a steel keeper. What does this keeper do? Well, it goes right here like on my drawing. It clamps on the valve, all right? Let me show you how it works in action. I'm going to slip the titanium retainer over this valve. And everybody's engine has this if you've got a 4-stroke. And when I say 4-stroke, I'm talking about it doesn't sound like a weed eater. Your Harleys, your Kawasaki Chevrolets, all of these. All right, here is a titanium retainer on a titanium valve. This valve is for B2 heads that we use in the S&S B2 heads. Now I want you to know this valve is the same size as most of you guys running big block Chevrolets. I'm going to say like 2-300 to 2-400. This valve it fits right in there. I want you to see how this keeper goes. Like let's say this is a 7 degree. Just call that out. That means this retainer has to have the same angle bored in it. Can you see the bored angle in the retainer? Okay. So we put this on, and this clamps onto the valve. Dexterity is something you learn when you're really young. All right. This is important. How this fits from the bottom of the taper in the retainer to the top of the taper and retainer. Now, a little bit troublesome here, and it's not anybody's fault, it's just how we do it. But this valve will rotate in here. I'm not a fan of that. When you put a spring on here that has 200 or 300 psi on the seat, and then you open it to 400 or 500 psi, this is going to clamp in a little better. But if I pull on this really tight, like the most I can pull it, it still turns. So I'm a little bit scary of this because something's going to wear out. And let's go look at it up close. What is actually clamping here? So this, I don't know if you know what a collet is, but this is supposed to clamp on this valve. Most people, I would say 99% of the engine builders, believe that the retainer and the springs stay on the valve because of this groove. Okay? This is a clamp. This is supposed to clamp on and clamp the stem. So let's just look at that for a minute. This moves. The valve rattles. When you put them two together, They don't touch each other. The keepers don't. But there's something letting this turn. So if you're going to design these from scratch, I would recommend that this is studied. And I want you to know whatever we sell here has been proven to hold up. Like if you over rev it and you miss a gear and your chain comes off or your belt comes off and you rev up through the moon, this will hold up, okay? This is not a dangerous piece. I'm just sharing what I've learned over the years with you. This is 50s, 60s technology, still in use today. Very, very popular. Many people use it. It's good stuff, okay? Very many. This is probably the majority of all valves and retainers. Now, I know you guys that know what I'm talking about, you've seen something better. All right, let's move towards that. All right. Now we have a bead lock. All right, now the bead lock gives us a chance to put this bead wherever we want it. I tried to make these two about the same length and tried to put the keepers in the same place, and so therefore the retainer would be in the same place, so the spring would be the same height. That's what my goal was, okay? But if you'll see here, there is a little bit more clamping area here versus this. This is not much clamping, and this is a lot of clamping. So let's grab one, and one of my favorites is what we raced NHRA Pro Stock with, okay? I want you to see, this right here is made for 12,000 RPM. It's got titanium valves, titanium keepers, and titanium retainers. And this is a precise, jewel-like piece of equipment here. Wow, it's hard to focus, isn't it? Anyway, this has got a bead lock in it, and if you'll look, it's very, very small. That bead is very, very small, and the groove in the valve is very, very small. But this is done by 3 different companies: this valve, this retainer, and these keepers. But they are done to a real high quality spec. Okay, you can see it better in this light. See the bead in the keeper? See the valve. All right, this actually almost snaps on here. Let's try the other one. That was a bad example. Hey, when y'all get to be 66 years old, you might be shaking too. Plus, I'm on live camera, and I have a lot of my peers and frenemies and my friends and fans and people that love me and people that don't love me on here watching, so makes you a little bit nervous. But if you pull this tight like the spring would, this is not coming off. This is clamped. Now look at the bottom of it. Talking about a precise fit. Check that out. No gap. There's a little gap between the keepers, but look at the retainer to keeper clearance here, okay? Very, very high quality fit here. Now, let's talk, before we move on from there, let's look at the spring that this retainer goes to. I got to show you this. It's very cool. That fits nice. In the Pro Stock, most of the guys are running a smaller spring on the exhaust than they are on the intake because it has 2 different jobs. People that don't, they ask me all the time, they say, George, why do you have dual pattern cams? Well, here's like NHRA Pro Stock spring. This works in the 500s. And this also works on the S&S Buells, the 160 engine, which has the car 500-inch style valve train. All right, here is the retainer for this spring. This is also a very nice fit. PSI makes this spring. Same guy, same company makes the ones we sell for our M8s. But this is one of the highest quality pieces I've seen. Okay, this is really nice. And this retainer is made to fit this inner spring. Sorry for the flopping around. So this retainer fits this spring perfectly. I mean, it is literally a snap fit. Okay? This retainer also fits this outer spring perfectly. It's a snap fit. These are made by 2 different companies also. Now this is the exhaust setup. That's interesting because I want to show you. This is for like an inch 200 lift, 11,000, 10,500 RPM. But this is the exhaust spring for a 2-inch intake, 2-inch exhaust valve. Okay. Now I'm going to move over to the intake spring. You can see the exhaust spring, and here's the intake spring. It's terrible when you get old, man. All right, taking the pieces out, I want you to compare them how cool this is. This spring is bigger, this retainer is bigger. It is made for 3 springs. Has 3 steps that all fit perfectly. This retainer is made for exhaust, which is 2 springs, and these 2 steps fit perfectly. So if I hold these up, this one goes in about 300 pounds on the seat. This one goes in about 400 pounds on the seat. And you can rev that son of a gun up to 11,000 RPM, and they'll stay in there. This one has over 1,000 pounds open pressure, and I think this one's about 800 pounds open pressure. Yes, you asked about the keepers. You don't want them to touch, because then they would clamp on the valve. They would clamp on each other rather than on the valve, and I'm going to show you an example of that in a moment. Because I have one that is exactly what you said. Okay, Milwaukee 8. Milwaukee 8. They come from the factory with triple grooves. This is very popular because the person that designed this thinks, this is my opinion now, I'm not saying what, I can't tell you what they think. My opinion is they thought that if 1 groove was safe, 3 would be better. So here is the keeper that they use with this valve. It's got 3 beads. All right, so it fits on here like this. Stock, let's put a stock retainer, stock steel retainer on the Milwaukee 8 valve with the stock keepers. And let's clamp it as tight as it'll go. Okay? I don't know how many different people made these parts, but this is what worries me so bad. I can't pull on this enough for this not to spin. So to me, this valve is going to wear out. These keepers are going to wear out. Something's going to wear out. When? 50,000, 100,000 miles. Depends on the abuse, how much we use it. So based on the things we've learned racing, NASCAR and NHRA with valve train and extreme RPM. And also think about the NASCAR guys. I saw them in the Roush and Yates boys this weekend at Michigan. Kevin Harvick won both races, but he had to run the same engine both races 2 days in a row. And they're I think they're called when you have to run. They seal them, and they're impounded. I think they call them impound races, where you can't work on it. But if you change the engine in one of those cars between races, you have to start the back of the pack. So you want to build your engine where they can go 500 miles on Saturday, in which they didn't. Wide open throttle, maximum RPM all day, and then you want to go wide open on Sunday, 500 miles maximum RPM all day Sunday. So, but look, what does that have to do with a Harley? What does that have to do with the M8? Nothing. But let me tell you something, you guys. We can't collectively go 1,000 miles at full throttle at maximum RPM. It takes us a while to do that. But this worries me with the Milwaukee 8 because it's not the retainer spinning on the valve. It is the valve spinning in the keeper. I mean, it feels like a bearing. It is freewheeling, spinning. Now, let's get, the stock valve does that, and the stock retainers do that. And this is a competitor's valve. It's an oversized stainless valve. It's very nice. It's very high quality. It weighs about 3 grams more than ours. And what's important about that is for the springs to work. This little retainer here is steel. This is the Milwaukee 8 steel retainer. It's the stock steel retainer. This weighs 6 grams. That doesn't sound like much because it's so little. And the titanium retainer we use is so stout and so strong. It's half the weight. Feels like it's made out of nothing, but it's half the weight and twice as strong and half the weight. So this weighs 3.5 grams versus 6 grams. That makes a difference because that makes the valve really think they can be in control. Here's the stock Milwaukee 8 valve spring. It's kind of ugly looking steel. I'm sure it's something they got where it would last long enough. And then this is the PSI spring, like they did for our Pro Stockers for the Milwaukee 8. You can see this one's taller, but also notice the lack of coils. This one has what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coils. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 coils. So it's way less coils. So this one can coil bind at really short lift, like at 450 or 480, I don't know, maybe it's 490, I don't know, but this will coil bind at about 480 or 490 lift. That's why our 30/30 cam is all you can put in here. This spring will coil bind at 625 lift, so we use our 3/4 cam and our full race cam in this spring with the titanium retainer. Now, the news for all of this is our new bulletproof valves that we are having made for us, and we're going with a single groove. And we're going to use a top lock, and the top locks will be here tomorrow. And we're going to use the PSI spring, the titanium retainer, and the top locks. It's going to cost a few dollars more. I think this valve right here may cost $10 or $5 more than my competition, but it's 3 grams lighter. It has several angles to help the flow. It is also a very thick margin. It's not sharp. And it has a little bit wasted stem for more flow. It's lighter, and it's going to be the only single groove one that I know of for the Milwaukee 8. And we're going to use a top lock keeper. It will clamp the valve here, and the keeper is not the part doing the work. Unlike this triple groove deal, where the industry believes that each groove carries load. And in reality, the groove is only to locate the keeper, because this groove does not keep this valve spring or this retainer on. The fact that the keeper clamps the valve below the keeper groove is what keeps the spring and the retainer and the keepers together. Now, the future is this. This is called top lock. There is nothing going on above this. This right here, this scares people that don't know. The guys and the engine builders that use these believe that if the keeper groove is close to here, that this valve is going to be weak. But in reality, I got to tell you this, and this is going to sound really stupid and they're hard to sell, but you can actually run this without any reliability issues. You can run this short. The only thing you need here is a place for your rocker arm to wear. This bead groove and this bead tells the retainer and the keepers where to clamp this stem. So all of this is a tight clamp. The bigger the spring, the more RPM, the tighter this holds because of this 7-degree angle right here. There are many, many, many retainers and keepers out there. There are 8 degree, there are 9 degrees, there's 10 degrees. There's all kinds of them out there. We are using a 7 degree with a single bead like this, and slowly but surely we're using up the part that's above the bead because it's wasteful. The only thing that works that we've seen is below here. Now, there's one more big piece of this that I forgot when I went by it so fast. Imagine, if you will, if we put a retainer, a big steel or titanium retainer on here for the spring, okay? I tried to draw it kind of big. Think about this. When this spring is running up and down in this engine, this valve spring is wiggling and wobbling, and this is going like this. And it is trying to where, whenever you see a guy drop a valve, he drops through here. They don't drop up here. They don't break off up here. They break off in this area. And the reason they break off here, in my opinion, is because this retainer is leverage here. This spring going up and down, up and down, up and down, and it's wobbling and wiggling and wiggling. And this right here works and works and works. And if you ever taken, I know many people don't have wire coat hangers anymore, but if you took a wire coat hanger and you bent it and bent it and bent it and bent it, and you did it enough times, eventually it would get really hot and burn your fingers and it would break off. These valves break off right here. So the future holds for us is to clamp the valve below the bead down here and clamp the valve so that this bead and this groove and the top of this valve is of no issue for reliability at all. So I'm going to say that if you put the retainer on this one for the spring, and if you clamped it here, it can't wiggle anymore because the load is clamped below the groove. The load is clamped here versus this one where the load is clamped right in the middle of the keeper. And I'm going to hold them up for you to look at one more time. I know I'm shaking. I'm sorry. It's hard to be this still. All right, you see there's clamping below and above the keeper. The groove. Or this one has more clamping below the bead. So it actually holds the valve more stable, okay? Anyway, I think I ran out of time. I wanted to share some of this stuff with you guys. I'm excited about this future for us here. We're going to do the single groove, top lock, titanium, PSI springs. We have them custom made with our logo, and these are light. These are 2 to 3 grams lighter than our competition. Oh, and this valve is 2.5 millimeter over stock for a Milwaukee 8, and this one's 3 millimeter over for a Milwaukee 8. And these will work on stock seats in the head. And these make a lot of power and they flow a lot. But thank y'all so much. It's a blessing to share this with you guys. And I want you to know that the only reason I know this stuff is how much stuff we tore up in our days, okay? I'm shaking because I'm excited. You're exactly right, Michael. JT, thank y'all. May God bless y'all. Have a great night. Thank you. Send me some notes, send me some info, and send me some suggestions and questions. I love the interaction with you guys. I look when I have time. And we're really busy at the shop, but I'm really thankful for it. And I'll share some more next Tuesday. Stay tuned. Thank y'all.